It's after midnight, everybody's gone to bed. It's time for some midnight ops. So when I first got the Johnny Nero Action Hero game, it did work within reason. So when I first booted it up, it kept rebooting. There was some type of error, and I just kind of left it alone for a while, then it eventually loaded. However, once it loaded up, the original monitor on it was basically gone. Doing some research and looking at it and doing some tests that were recommended, I got a lot of help with it on the Arcade Museum website, on their monitor section, some ways to test it, and essentially the red on the CRT was gone. So there's really no, according to that, no repairing it. I'm not a monitor expert, but from what they said, basically the actual tube itself was bad. So it couldn't be repaired by, a new chassis or anything like that. So what I ended up doing, this is before I got even more knowledge, before I knew this, the Chase H2 cabinets, which is why you see one of them doesn't have a monitor, because the monitor that's now in the Johnny Nero used to be in this Chase H2 cabinet. So I decided to move it over here, which I did. And then I got the rude awakening of the different types of CRTs, essentially, that I didn't know about. So the old one that was in here was probably, I guess, what they called a mid-res or a tri-res monitor. And the Johnny Nero basically ran on it could run low-res or mid-res, so 15 or 31 kilohertz, I believe. Well, this monitor is basically 60 kilohertz. So the game won't run. It'll display, but the light guns aren't going to work because it's the way the hertz. It's just not going to work. So I couldn't use the monitor. Looking at trying to replace it, I was looking at paying more for the monitor than I paid for the entire cabinet. I was still considering it because I didn't have any intention of altering or changing the Johnny Nero or the Chase H2 cabinets. I was going to leave those as they were and then build another cabinet to play more modern games on, but leave these original because that's the reason I bought them, was for that purpose. Then the board went out for the Johnny Nero game, so it would not boot up at all. So I figured I'd pull it out. So this is the board and the hard drive for the Johnny Nero. And next to it is Police Trainer. So I bought the Police Trainer because I figured I could swap the PCBs out. Or, I'd seen builds where people did like a multi-JAMA thing. And I was going to still keep it doing these type of games. I just started collecting. And the Police Trainer does work. I got it to work. It showed up on the monitor. I got a converter, essentially, which enabled it to show up, but because of the refresh rates on the screen, it basically never detected any of the pistol shots. So essentially it would play the Police Trainer intro and a track mode. That was it. It was just basically a screensaver, basically. But what happened, I believe I think basically on the Johnny Nero board, I never got around to replacing the battery. And from what I read, that's a suicide battery. So I think the battery went out on me, which basically suicided the board. So essentially, this is just a paperweight. I don't think, from what I've researched, nobody's emulated this yet, which is really, disappointing, because obviously I have it sitting right here. I have the hard drive. I have my cabinet. I would love to be able to play this game on the cabinet it was built for. And I was able to play it for a little bit, with with no red in the screen, which really took a lot of the enjoyment out of it, which is why I started working on it. But that's where I am with that, and that's the reason why this cabinet is being converted. Not because I wanted to necessarily. If you see in the IR lights on the monitor there, now that I'm standing right in front of it. So basically, yeah, you can see it's being converted to a Gun4IR cabinet. You can even see the IRs there, even though the cabinet's not on. Obviously, the IRs are plugged into the computer, so those are powered up. So let me go ahead and power the monitor on and open this up just to give you a little bit better look here. Just turned it on so that you can see the lights light up there. One of them is actually an incandescent bulb, and the other one's LED. I did buy some replacement LEDs, so I replaced the incandescent bulb, mostly because it generates heat, and which over time, I've noticed, like I had to I'm replacing the, I'm gonna see the glare, I know I do have it on. So I'm replacing the buttons that came with this just because they were incandescent bulbs, and just the heat basically just rotted out the plastic. I live here in Arizona, and even now it's after midnight, hence midnight ops, and it's like 95 degrees outside. So these are just kind of temporary in here. I did order new buttons, and I actually have them. I just haven't put them in yet because I'm having to rewire a bunch of stuff. Like I said, these are just temporary for now. I need to take this middle section out here and then put an extender in here so that the Jolt guns will fit in here, because I want to leave this, but right now it's too narrow. It's made for the HAP 45. So there we go. So like I said, it's made for the HAP 45. These are different. They're solid and sturdy, and I like them. These do have solenoids inside, 24 volts, I believe, right? So I mean, they're sturdy and they're solid, and you can beat somebody with them. But not converting these. So I don't lock anything down until I make sure everything works. And actually, I'm going to leave this being able to slide up and down. You'll see why in a second. You can kind of see up at the top there because you can see my keyboard. Because essentially what it's meant to do is when I need to, I can just slide it up, which gives me access underneath here. Doing it one-handed. But I can slide up, which gives me access underneath. So that's the computer. What I ended up doing for the computers is that I just ended up getting some Dells. That's actually a refurbished Dell for like $250 that I got from their refurbished department. And, it's nothing powerful, but it's more than powerful enough to run these old games. And you kind of see the mess that I have in there. So what I ended up doing, you kind of see it a little bit. Let's see if I can get in there. Yeah, it's embarrassing just to show this. So basically, here's the JAMA Edge connector that's coming in. I wanted to I don't know why, but I wanted to leave the JAMA intact. So I haven't done anything to the interior of the cabinet. So everything is still wired up as it was. I ended up ordering a JAMA extension harness, and that's what this is, plugged in right here. And then basically hijacking off the end of it. So I have certain things coming off the end of it here for certain buttons. These are the switches for the player 1 and player 2 buttons. Like I said, they're incandescents, but the ground's not hooked up to them, so that's why they're not on. They're not working. So I ended up getting the JPack 2 from Ultimart to run my buttons. So, and then I put buttons on the front here, which I'll clean up and make a little prettier later. But basically, I just needed something simple. So I have up, down, and enter. And then the red button over there is escape, basically. And that's all it's wired up to, is a keyboard encoder to scroll up, to scroll down, and to escape out. And then right here, I took the front panel off of the computer, and so that gives a little more, because it's in this enclosed space, I wanted to give it some air. So I took the front panel off so it can breathe, and the power button's just right in there. Things are connected to the back. I still have to go about hooking everything up here. So I measured the voltage coming off that. My 5 volts is good. The 12 volt voltage is coming in at about 9.8. And the solenoids for the Jolt guns run off 12 volts. So I'm going to have to test it to make sure they can run off that 9.8. And if they can, then I'll wire their power up to that as well, so I don't have an issue with power. Speakers are going to be another matter. Currently, I have mapped the speaker volume to the shift functions on the JPack for up and down. So you hold the player 1 button, player 1 start, and then you just go up and down. It'll adjust the volume, which is pretty good. So that means really you don't have to open this up except to troubleshoot, which is what the goal is, and to try to have it as user friendly as can be, because really just don't want to have to mess with it, especially when I have kids over, my nieces and nephews and my own kids playing it. What I'm going to put on this is just for 3 games, and then if you can see up here in the corners, I have like some bowing in. I haven't really tried to figure out how to fix that, or if that's just the way it's gonna be and the way it's supposed to be. The funny thing is like, I see people doing emulators that try to emulate that look. Well, I'm not emulating it. That's just the way the screen is. I don't know if there's an adjustment I can do somewhere or something, but I can't get it fixed. I do have the an adjustment for this monitor, but I haven't been able to get that to work. So that's brightness. Let's see. Oops, let's try this. Wrong one. There we go. So I can go here and it has all these settings, but none of them, if I mess with one and adjust one, it just changes something else. There we go. So there's the monitor, what it is. So yeah, I couldn't play anything on it. Thanks for watching. See you on the next Midnight Op.